Good evening. It is 7:30 p.m. We have a full agenda and we have a quorum, so I'm going to call this meeting to order immediately. All rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence or silent prayer as your conscience finds appropriate. Please remember the two children, Sky Sosa and Shalom Mba, who died 2 weeks ago today. Thank you. Please be seated. Members of the council, you have an agenda before you. Are any changes required to that agenda? And are there any conflicts of interest that any of you have for any agenda items? Seeing no microphones unmuted, I'm going to assume there are no conflicts of interest. And will therefore ask for a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Is there any council discussion on the motion to approve the agenda? Are there any public comments on the motion to approve the agenda? Hearing none, seeing no indication of public comments, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang is not present. Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
And Councilmember Kellon is apparently also not present. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0. There are no presentations tonight, and so the next item on the agenda is my report, Mayor's report. As I mentioned during the moment of silence, it was 2 weeks ago today, only 2 weeks ago, that Sky Sosa and Shalom Mba were hit by a car in a crosswalk while walking to school and killed. And
Hello, Mr. Mayor. This is Mr. Kalon.
good evening, Mr. Kalon. Welcome to the meeting. Glad you're here. I attended Sky Sosa's funeral and interment on Saturday afternoon. It was one of the saddest events that I have attended as mayor, I will say. There's been a lot happening in spite of the sadness, in spite of that tragedy. We had a legislative meeting with the District 22 team to present our legislative priorities. I felt that they were warmly received. We will be addressing some traffic safety and lighting and other issues in our requests to the state for bond bill funding. And hopefully we can get some of that into place. On Saturday afternoon, I also attended the holiday kickoff in Town Center. It seemed to be a very good event. The vendors were selling, they're selling interesting things. There was a not ice rink, but it felt like an ice rink, looked like an ice rink, and the kids seemed to be having a very good time there. And I want to congratulate and thank the staff for setting up and pulling off the event. I picked up a very nice shop local bag from the town and saw many other people also picking them up. So it's really great to see that. I was almost late to tonight's meeting. There was a meeting hosted by County Council Member Olson about Wells Run. They discussed the 9 Pond project, which is Under construction, expected to be completed in June of 2024, so a little bit over 6 months. And they also were just starting to discuss the Wells Run improvements that will happen in Riverdale Park when I had to leave the meeting at a little bit after 7. But those are also underway. Apparently the engineering is somewhat done, and they're looking at construction. This is naturalization. It does not have very much in the way of water quantity control, but we are working on other projects that will dovetail with that project that will provide water quantity control. There are a couple of political events in town this week, both at Denizens. Brooke Lehrman will be at Denizens tomorrow afternoon, 5:30 to 7. Eric Olson Thursday, I think 6 to 7:30. And so if you wish to see either of those people, you can see them there. And on Wednesday of this week, the METC committee will meet. This meeting will only be minutes. We were expecting the lofts to come back this month, but they have said they will come back in February. They say they're working on some permit stuff, but we did ask them for some changes at some meetings that I had with them earlier this month. So hopeful that those will show up also. And last but not least, the other project, I don't even know what the name of it is. That is where the Chambers Funeral Home is now. They are apparently having some preliminary map amendments. That's another project down on Madison, where Madison and Cleveland meet on the south end of town. I believe that that's all of the news that I have. For my day job, I had an international teleconference this morning that started at 6 a.m. Ran 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. I've been working all day or at the Wells Run meeting or talking to people, and so I'm a little bit tired. So let's keep going in the meeting. Thank you. Concludes my report. Next on the agenda is the town manager's report. Mr. Town Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I actually have 12 or so items to mention. The mayor mentioned Saturday's event. I just want to thank the staff team, in particular Director Barnes, for putting the event together, her and her staff, supported by all the departments. And the event was focused on community and building community and bringing different segments of our community together. And that's really a focus of the staff team. I think it's in response to what we're hearing from the mayor and council in terms of direction of the town. And it really speaks to, in part, to our relevance and in terms of creating memories, creating community. And it can't be overstated, the importance of such events. So staff are going to try to do more, but we are limited with our bandwidth. The staff are in preparation for the budget, are working on a survey of our infrastructure. We're focusing on missing sidewalk sections. So where we have DPW and neighborhood services staff out measuring areas where there's no sidewalks. And that's part of developing a multi-year proposal to address those types of issues. We were to have on the agenda tonight, I believe I mentioned it at the last meeting, an update on our Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative plan. The key staff involved in that have asked me for a few more weeks to finalize their draft. So we plan on bringing that back on the 18th. And it's the same for State Highway in reference to the Riverdale Road Bridge project. We're hoping to have them on the 18th. We're just waiting for confirmation. A couple logistical things. Tomorrow night, there's a virtual meeting of the Town Seal Design Committee. That's at 7 p.m. information is available on the town's website. The Ethics Commission met last week, and I was on their agenda with a request reference financial disclosures. And same as I have done in the past, I've gone to the Ethics Commission requesting that certain members of my staff, in addition to what's mandated in the code, be required to submit financial disclosure forms. Some staff long forms, some staff short forms, and they granted that request. So I want to thank the Ethics Commission for that. At that same meeting, it was also reported that the State Ethics Commission approved the amendments of the town's ethics ordinance that were adopted by the mayor and council. That's an important step. MNCPPC has reported, I'm putting that in air quotes, has reported that the work related to drainage issues at the dog park has been completed. I certainly hope it has, but we know after their last effort, after a good rain, it became evident that some more work was done. So we're hopeful that this re-engineered improvement will address the issue. We received an email communication from Community Crisis Inc. thanking the town for the donation that the mayor and council approved of $3,000 towards their programs, including the Safe Passages program for domestic violence safe shelters. And so I wanted to pass that along. The PGCMA has their legislative meet and greet on December 7th at the Show Place Arena at 6:30 p.m. And if the members of the council plan to attend, please let Director Barnes know, and we can pass that along to PGCMA. The next community conversation is Saturday, December the 16th, 9:30. It's a virtual discussion on the fiscal year 2025 budget process. Be a facilitated discussion, like all of our community conversations. Director Barnes will lead the discussion, but Mr. Jones will be there to talk on the budget process. We're still finalizing the agreement with Red Speed for the red light camera and the parking permit. It's back in the hands of Mr. Fred Sussman, and we're shooting for the 18th to have that before the mayor and council. We do believe at this point that we'll need a special legislative meeting on the 18th for probably about 3 issues. I would respectfully ask the mayor and council to hold that as a potential special legislative meeting on the 18th. The town hall and DPW operations will be closed on December 25th in observance of Christmas Day, and that's a Monday, and also on January 1st, a Monday. And then for our community, it's really important to recognize that there would be no trash collection for those two Mondays. So there's, or I'm sorry, no yard waste collection, and no there's no. Ms. Barnes, help me out. So it's no trash and no yard waste, right?
Correct. There will be trash pickup that week on another day, but there will be no yard either week.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then the Christmas tree pickup will begin on January 8th, a little late this year, but it's because of where the dates fell, the days of the week. Let's see. I think that's it. So if there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, let's move on to the monthly finance report.
Deputy Director Jones.
Evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Tonight I will be presenting the November finance reports. which cover revenue and expenditure for the months of September, October, November with a year-to-date total. For the month of November, fiscal year 2024 revenue totaled $965,137. Expenditures totaled $820,679 with a net of revenue over expenditures of $144,458. For revenue, we have a total revenue of $5,759,121 with expenditures totaling $3,499,270, leaving a net of $2,259,851. One thing I'd like to note is, as I covered in previous finance reports, revenue for the months of September, October, and November for the last 3 years has fluctuated. Typically, these are the months that we received the majority of the revenue for the town, most notably the real estate taxes. At this point, we have reached $5,759,000. In comparison to the previous year, we were at $5,718,851. So town revenue has outperformed the previous fiscal year. However, fiscal year 2022 was a year where we received a bit more. Revenue totaled $5,859,000. So overall, at this point, town revenue and expenditures, we have a total of $2,259,000. The previous year it was $2,563,000, and the year before that $2,637,000. So we are continuing to monitor our expenses and our revenues. And in the report that I have later, the finance reports where we cover the revenue, I will go in more depth, showing the comparison of the previous 3 years as well for the revenue side. But if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Deputy Director Jones. Are there questions from the council for Deputy Director Jones? Are there questions from the public for Deputy Director Jones on this report? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the finance report subject to audit?
So moved. Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe to adopt the finance report subject to audit. Is there any discussion? Council or public? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Talon,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is the correspondence summary. And I have not even looked at it myself, so all the materials were provided to the council. Can you give a very brief summary of the letter? Okay. So very close to clean up. The plastic pellets were isolated and controlled, so that's good. So very good to hear that that's essentially complete. Okay, any discussion of the correspondence summary? Is there a fire department report this evening?
Just by email, sir.
Okay, I'll read some relevant parts for those who are listening. The new members are making their way through the background process. They are hoping to get some EMT people on staff right after the first of the year, but the classes are scarce. Department hosted pre-K classes from Riverdale Elementary School. Santa run of the fire truck will be the evening of Saturday, December 23rd. Department continues to work with the county on a number of apparatus and facility issues, includes planning stages for a new ambulance and engine. And after the first of the year, department will be sending a mail-out fundraiser to the First Due area. This department and no others that Steve Lamphere knows of hold any phone fundraisers. So if you get a phone call asking for your phone donations for the fire department, it's not our fire department. And he provides a web link to their Facebook page in the report. So that concludes the fire department report. And I don't think I can answer any questions. So unless someone wishes to comment, then let's go ahead and move to council committee and work reports. Starting with Councilmember Smith, Ward 1.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Good to be with everybody tonight, especially on such a somber occasion as that second week anniversary of the tragedy that struck our town. Continue to encourage, as I know they are, staff to think about some big, bold ideas that we can do to make our town the safest community in the DMV and in the state of Maryland for pedestrians. And I know that is the priority for them. So thank you, staff, for continuing to work on that. Continue to encourage this council to enable the staff to implement some bold change around that, and also to consider closing Queensberry to through traffic during drop-off hours at RES. Let's continue to discuss that and do some great things. Did get a chance to stop by the holiday kickoff event at Town Center. For those who were not able to come by, you seriously missed out. It was incredible. I, of course, anticipated it would be great, and it exceeded my expectations. So kudos to everyone involved with that, especially folks I saw there, including Director Barnes, Director Lewis, Director Shelton, and a large contingent from the police and fire departments. It was just simply great. There was an incredible number of people there. The iceless skating rink was a big hit. And it's, you could tell it is the kind of thing that families are going to look forward to year round. I mean, I was there and just thinking about something like that, or the kind of things like that happened in my community growing up around Christmas time, and how soon as the leaves started to turn colors and it starts to get chilly, you're like, oh, it's just a couple months until the holiday kickoff in Riverdale Park Town Center now. So kudos to all of the staff for that. Just incredible work. I will humble brag for half a second to say that I was able to finally procure the electric pickup truck. I've been talking about in this forum for a while. And I say that not just to brag, but to point out that we, as a town, as a community, have lived up to our values in terms of sustainability. As I got it, and I'm looking around on the app and everything and trying to find where all the chargers are. And there are huge swaths, even in this metropolitan area, that have very little, if any, charging infrastructure. Even, I was in Laurel a couple of days ago and couldn't find a charger. But there's plenty within walking distance of my house now. So thanks to all the staff and all the work this town's done to live up to those values of sustainability. And we should, of course, continue to do so, do more, build more charging infrastructure, work with our delegation to get more trains coming through, invest in mass transit and pedestrian infrastructure, and everything we can do to, reduce our carbon footprint as a town. So with that, I will close. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. I will tell you that one of the things that surprised me when I got an electric vehicle was how much more exercise I got walking to and from charging stations. So you will probably find that as well. Next is Councilmember Foe, Ward 2.
Good evening, everyone. sitting here on the 2-week anniversary of an incident that will define our town for the extended future. I just want to reiterate the words of Councilmember Smith, encouraging staff to think dramatically outside of the box and what it is that we can achieve to ensure pedestrian safety. I will support a variety of different things at this point to encourage that our children and our other residents can commute throughout our community safely. It's amazing what the power of community can do to just for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, remove our thoughts and allow us to joyfully come together. And that was accomplished on Saturday at our winter event. I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank town staff, just to see your smiling faces there is such a powerful tool for our community. I texted the town manager immediately after saying, your staff does a remarkable job, and I am grateful that they are such a significant part of our community. When we were at the vigil, I was talking to Director Barnes, and with a tear in her eye, she referenced this being her community. And I did just put a smile on my face and a warmth in my heart to know that the people that work for this town are our family as well. Mr. Town Manager, your staff represents our community as well as I could ever even begin to imagine. And like I've said before, and I will continue to say again, I am as proud to work with this group as I am of any in my career. It was truly a beautiful event to see everyone. And I encourage us to continue to get together more, because when I encounter all of you, I am activated to do my best. So I am actively calling for continued dialogue. I love seeing staff. I love seeing other council members, because it makes me realize the job that we have to do. And I love to be invigorated in that way. With that being said, I last Tuesday was lucky enough to be able to attend the District 22 Legislative Priorities meeting with the town manager, with Director Barnes, Councilman Lingua, myself, and the mayor. And the outpouring of support was genuinely touching, and the respect showed to our mayor indicative of the time that he has put into this job. Alan, as a friend, you sound tired. I care about you. If you can, take a day off, get some rest, do something selfish for yourself. I get out on a kayak if you can. You have earned it and then some. And I am proud to be affiliated with you. And I just want to make sure that you are constantly checking in on yourself to make sure that you are not on empty. With that, I'll yield the remainder of my time. I appreciate being here with all of you. I'm so grateful for your efforts for Saturday. This is a remarkable place to live, and I also want it to be a remarkable place to work. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Councilmember Foe. If you drive by my house, you'll see that my kayak is still stubbornly on top of the car, and I hope to get out maybe this weekend, see what the weather is like. Thank you for your kind words, however. Councilmember Lingua, Ward 3.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everyone who joined this meeting. I don't think I can add much more to what's already been said regarding the events that happened 2 weeks ago, other than I think it's upon all of us to take a lead, not only in town, but as well in the county, regarding making a concerted effort to press upon county council they're responsible for formulating and approving a budget for the county executive to execute, especially in regards to policies that they have regarding a consistent, ongoing recruitment effort and retention effort for crossing guards throughout the county. There's a way that we can move forward from this incident. I feel that's a way to do it. I'm happy to talk with anyone else about this, about how we can move forward on this effort by reaching out to other municipalities, civic groups, where there are schools in the unincorporated areas of Prince George's County, as well as the county council. In some brighter news, today, the Sarvis Cafe reopened for business with a new menu, both from their main kitchen and their bakery. And they're now offering grab-and-go options, as well as coffee, tea, and espresso. They're open Monday to Friday. They're 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they're just off Kenilworth Avenue on Sarvis Avenue. I believe it's 5711 Sarvis Avenue. It's as you're heading northbound on Kenilworth, just after River Road, and before Campus Drive.
Councilmember, you're a little bit quiet. If you can lean closer to your microphone.
Okay, sorry about that. Just off there on River Road, just north of River Road on the right-hand side as you head north on Kenilworth Avenue. Again, Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. serving breakfast and lunch. This is an effort by the CCAR CDC to be able to offer an opportunity for folks to learn kitchen and house skills, so that they can then go on and work other places throughout the county, as well as the state. So meals purchased there, coffees purchased there are going to a good effort. In other news that is close to home for Riverdale Park is the Wells Warriors Youth Hockey Association, which is one of the coaches is Jay Johns, who lives over on Nicholson Street in Ward 3, along with his wife Nova, who's just the team spirit, support, morale, whatever you want to call it. She's behind these guys 100%. Also because she has two sons there who are playing, as well as two young lads from the Concha family who are just up the street. Now, right up there, not far from them on Taylor. They are off to Canada in January for the International Silver Stick Finals in Pelham, Ontario. And they are looking for support. And one of the things that you can go to is myevent.com, and you can look up Wells Warriors 18 and under Canada tournament. They have a Washington Capitals ticket raffle, which you can put in for 2 tickets to the February 6th Capital game versus the Montreal Canadiens. And it says the tickets are in section 110, 4 rows up from the glass, quote, in OV's office. So if you, again, want to throw some money in and support these folks, these fine young men, and help them raise the money so they can go up to the Silver Sticks finals in Pelham, Ontario. I'm sure they'd appreciate it greatly, and I'm sure that they will be doing the town proud in their efforts to bring home some hardware. Again, myevent.com. You can find it there. Wells Warriors 18 and under Canada tournament. I don't think I can say much more else. Also regarding the holiday kickoff event, Ms. Barnes, 5 candy canes on this one. It was a real treat. It was a real hoot. It was a lot of fun, and I think a lot of excited folks, and thank heavens the weather held off just long enough to to have the event. Because I know about an hour and a half later, the rain started coming in. One note of concern that I have, and this is something that I witnessed Saturday morning over at the intersection of Kenilworth Avenue and Riverdale Road. And that was the placarding of various poles at that intersection of Riverdale Road and Kenilworth, as well as Kenilworth and 410, for a group called Patriot Front US, who are calling for a new American nation state, or they're calling to reclaim America, or they are another poster saying United We Stand, and each time they have their website address on the posters, images of men clad in baseball caps, baklavas, sunglasses, all in coordinated outfits out in front of the Capitol building with protective shields, as well as other images of essentially an axe with a chopped up rattlesnake. Another poster down along at Kenilworth and right there at, I believe it's Jefferson. Another poster was depicted a quiver of arrows. From what I could tell of the folks putting this up, and what I've briefly read about this group on their website, this is a very far right-wing group. I pulled these posters down as quickly as I could, and the immediate ones that I pulled down, I took over and dropped off at the police department for them to have and take a look at and share with whatever other law enforcement entities in the state, be that the county, be that the state, so that it's known that we have folks coming up here who are posting or putting such posts within our town, so that in the hopes that they would be able to monitor this and prevent something from happening before it does. And with that, I will conclude my ward report.
Thank you, Councilmember, and thank you, Councilmember, for reporting on that. I think you probably know that the Southern Poverty Law Center, which monitors hate groups, far-right hate groups in particular, has identified Patriot Front as such, as a far-right hate group. So we definitely do not want them posting their materials in town. for being in town. Council, with that, Councilmember Inyang, Ward 4.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. I think I echo a lot of the sentiments that that others have said as sort of approach this meeting, and as well as the joy about the holiday event this past weekend. Once again, bang up job from staff, and it's not lost on me that this ends up being sort of like part of a bunch of people's side jobs in addition to what they have full time. I think this only echoes the need for sort of a full-time events coordinator that the town should have to sort of help us plan through these events. And you know, what I think was encouraging about it was, how do we create these rituals, these known tentpole events that people mark their calendars by? And you know, we look about how do we show up in town in an authentic way. Some of it is just people trusting that we'll be there and having another event they can sort of plan around, that we can get the word out as soon as possible because they know, hey, first week of December, we probably are doing this event. And so this is, I think, an overwhelming success. And I say that as I was able to connect with Ken Ullman today from the he's got a couple of titles now, but the Terrapin Development Corporation, and as a follow-up to the tour that I took a couple months ago, and the idea of one of the businesses in the Discovery District being the Shed. And, how do we, they're super excited about partnering with the town to sort of create some type of event in the spring where they can bring all the instruments and sort of do what they call like a kind of a drum petting zoo, right? Where kids can sort of come out, play around with instruments and with trained professionals and just sort of get exposure to it. And it would be, I can see an opportunity to be able to like partner with, if there are any local music groups or schools, but obviously if there's, programming around sort of like music and the arts, and have the town sort of be the center of it and sort of bringing it in a community, putting it in a place where the community can it be accessible to them. And he immediately was just like, who do I talk to? Who do I like partner with on this? And it was just another reminder of like, yeah, we definitely need to make sure we have somebody to partner with full time. And obviously we'll keep the town staff and the many heads that make things happen involved. I'll definitely keep keeping everyone connected. But again, I think it's just, would be helpful to think as a town, what's our capacity, and then what are whether it's once a quarter or whatever makes sense, these opportunities, because this weekend was amazing, and we need to find opportunities to keep that going. Also just, Director Lewis and your team, I believe all of the pedestrian traffic calming items in Riverdale Park Station have been installed, deployed. I believe that's the case. And this whole thing has been a whirlwind after so little movement for so many years, with the road transfer not happening. And so to see the progress happening, and the speed humps have been put in place, and immediately saw cars getting airborne on Woodbury. And so hopefully it starts to change people's behavior. But then again, just thanks a lot on behalf of a lot of constituents who aren't on the call right now of prioritizing this, and just the speed and turnaround. I've gotten multiple times. What the town has been able to do in a few weeks has been sort of a testament to just their professionalism. And this, clearly you can tell this is what they do. They're best served to do it. And I think we're definitely excited for having the town sort of in this position to shepherd this community from a lot of its infrastructure. And so looking forward to that, and definitely just want to send thanks and praise for that. And was also comforting to hear the town manager talk about this infrastructure study that the town is doing. The other part of my ward, the Purple Line neighborhood, I think I come and say it every meeting of just, we have an opportunity to do something momentous in that community, because there's been so little investment in such a long time. And so that type of assessment to sort of know not just where the areas are, but also as best as possible what the costs are, I think will be really important so that at any point in time when we, budget funding or grants or whatever might come around, it's always helpful to have that handy just to know what we're talking about here. And then obviously plan for it over a couple of different budget cycles. And then just lastly, I know we're going to talk about it a little later today, but the walk, bike, drive, safety initiative, advisory committee. Um, you know, I'm super excited about what this could be, and not just for the particular sort of safety initiative in the community, and then sort of channeling the collective energy and want to help. That I feel like the entire community has coming out of the horrible events of 2 weeks ago. But I also sort of see it as hey, is this an opportunity for us as a community to hopefully find a better governance structure, right, where we can better utilize the skills and talents and treasure and resources that the community has, and point it in a very focused, nuanced way that helps, that works with the town and sort of leverages and expands capacity, than just in an antagonistic way, right? And so I'm encouraged and definitely hopeful that that's what will happen. This will be a net positive. And just encourage anyone who's interested, when when that word gets out, to definitely, let's try to crowdsource and find the right individuals to sort of participate, because I think that, there are a lot of, major issues that we will be looking to tackle in the next, few years. And if we can find these ways that town staff, the council, as well as our community can work together in concert, I think we're just better off for it. So with that, I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Inyang. Councilmember Mejia, Ward 5.
Good afternoon, council members. I have no report at this moment, but it's still healing from the accident that happened 2 weeks ago from the kids. I'm still feeling a little emotional. I'm sorry.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too, Councilmember. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Kellon, Ward 6.
Good evening, everybody. From the mayor and council, town manager and staff, I say hi to everyone. Well, I don't have much to say. The only thing I have a complaint all the time from this liquor store, gas station of Ken Walter Avenue here by Jefferson. The people are getting a lot of stress. People are coming there, parking their store. Even when they tell them to move and go back, they refuse. Some are drunk, they're sitting down on the roadway. But I've been making this report before. But anyway, now I'm happy. You know why I'm happy? Because the Purple Road works, they started to grade the road so that they can tar the road for a vehicle to become safe. I'm happy about that. And if I reach there, I stop there. I don't have much to say. I thank all of you. Thank you. I love you guys. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Kellon. Appreciate your report. Appreciate your remarks. Next item on the agenda are public comments on non-agenda items. You'll have an opportunity to discuss agenda items as we go through, and also on consent agenda items. Are there any public comments this evening? I'm not seeing any microphones turn on. Not seeing any hands raised, so I'm going to assume there are no public comments. And that will lead us into the consent agenda. Consent agenda is neither discussed nor debated. We simply have a motion up or down. I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Inyang, seconded by Councilmember Fo. Immediate roll call vote. Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Smith, are you there?
Yes, you caught me in the middle of a snack run. Yes.
Councilmember, Councilmember
bring it.
Fo.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. That brings us to legislative action items. The 7 legislative action items are all extending programs that were started during the early part of the pandemic in general. Sometimes some of them are later in the pandemic. Excuse me. And so we have always extended them one at a time, but more or less as a group. Oh, excuse me, that's 1 through 6. No, that's 1 through 7. The motion to authorize the waiver of residential permit fees is also started during that time. So let's go ahead and get going. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 2023 R-18 to extend the farmers market dollars program.
So moved.
I second the motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fo, seconded by Councilmember Callan to extend the Town of Riverdale Parks Farmers Market Dollars program through the end of calendar year 24. Yes, thank you very much, unless it further extended by us at that time. Is there any council discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I don't know at what date the meeting was. I believe it's March 13th, March 20th, somewhere in that range of 2020 when this was introduced. It was a remarkable meeting in terms of our staff participation and an immediate response to the oncoming pandemic. I remember being incredibly proud of the programs that staff created at that time, and seeing this come up again, I am still filled with that pride for all of these grant programs. We'll be supporting all of them. This one has altered the face of our farmers market for the better, increasing turnout, increasing diversity of those people coming into the program or coming into the farmers market. And it has made our town center just a lively place that you could see this program impacting participation at our winter event on Saturday night. Anything we can do to combat food insecurity in our community is worthwhile. And this is an incredible program.
Thank you for those words, Councilmember Fo. I agree with every single one of them. So thank you. Any additional council discussion of the motion to extend the Town of Riverdale Parks Farmers Market Dollars program through the end of calendar year 2024? Are there any public comments on the motion? Seeing no additional comments that seem to be waiting, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Another snack break.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Snacking all night. It's all
Councilmember
right.
Fo.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item, may I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-19 to extend the Small Business Assistance Grant Program.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Fo, a fraction of a second before Councilmember Callan. Is there discussion of this motion? Are there public comments or questions about this motion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Fo.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. And I have lost my cursor. Next item on the agenda, motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-20 to extend the emergency repair grant program. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Kellon to adopt resolution 2023-R-20 to extend the emergency repair grant program. Is there council discussion of this motion?
Quick question, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Wonder if staff could offer to date the extent to which this program's been used.
Director Shelton.
To date. Should I had this calendar year, but I didn't have to date. So
Well, let's go to the calendar year.
this calendar year, we've only had one applicant so far for the emergency repair grant, but I know that specifically in those years where we've had significant flooding, I want to say that we had at least a dozen grant applications at that point. So I would feel confident saying it's been at least $15,000 in emergency repair grant funds.
Okay, so you would say anywhere between 15 and 20 individual grant requests that were able to be filled? Is that a
That's
fair
correct.
estimate? Okay. Thank you very much.
Any additional council discussion of the motion? Any public comments? Do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye, indeed.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. May I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-21 to extend the flood prevention and damage mitigation grant program?
So moved.
Second.
He got me.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Kellon to adopt resolution 2023-R-21 to extend the flood prevention and damage mitigation grant program. Is there council discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, a quick question to staff.
Yes.
I know this is a more recent program that really came about after the events of the right around early July of 2022. But I was wondering if you had numbers to date on number of applicants and monies dispersed for this program.
Absolutely. So far we've had one applicant fully complete the process and they've received $5,000.
Okay. I take it we're going to be looking for ways to make folks a little more aware that this is out there and that there's opportunities that they can get help on making such improvements to their home and property.
That's correct. I know we have a few others that are currently pending the work being completed, but yes, we do anticipate having the program marketed so that we have much more participation.
Okay, great. Great to hear. Thank you.
Any additional council discussion? Any public comments or questions? Seeing none, hearing nothing, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Most favored, aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
It's hard to follow up this guy every day. I'll vote aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Kellon.
Present.
Is that an abstention, Councilmember Kellon?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 6-0. I abstain. May I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-22 to extend the Neighborhood Safety Improvement Grant Program?
I move.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Kellon, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there council discussion of this motion? Are there any public comments or questions on this motion? Hearing none, seeing no open microphones, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, may I please have a motion to adopt resolution 2023-R-23 to extend the commercial appearance grant program.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Callan to extend the commercial appearance grant program, resolution 2023-R-23. Is there council discussion of this motion?
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor,
Um,
I'll
Yeah,
let my colleague from Ward 4 go ahead.
Councilmember Inyang, go ahead.
I'm also curious about sort of the usage of this grant so far, year to date, or even like generally speaking, like how often is it used? It seems like great on paper, but I'm curious if it's actually getting the uptake that we would like or desire.
Yeah, so I would say that in the 4 years that I've been here, we typically have between 1 to 4 applicants each year. This year was actually one of the lower years where we had just 1 applicant so far, but they received $2,500 in assistance for their facade improvements.
And then just a follow-up question. Have you heard any feedback in terms of if the amount was more, would people apply for it, or is the sort of current amount fine?
I haven't heard specific feedback on that, but perhaps we will have a questionnaire or something that goes along that to help receive some more information about that.
Thank you.
Any additional council discussion? Councilmember Smith, I think you had a question?
Sure. First of all, glad we have this program, and I just want to hope or ask staff that we are ensuring that we are reaching out to our neighbors on Maryland Avenue about the existence of this program. As I drive down Maryland Avenue frequently, this looks like a program that they could highly benefit from. So would encourage that, and also want to ask if we are doing any multilingual outreach around this program.
I know we have done multilingual outreach among a lot of our programs. I can't recall if this is one of them though. I will double check that.
Yeah, I think Director Barnes could probably answer that question. Director Barnes?
Certainly, in almost every occasion, our outreach is in both English and in Spanish. I can't imagine this not being the case.
Awesome, thank you. You guys are always on it, as usual. I would just ask that we continue to do that and ensure that we're thinking about all of the businesses in our town, and not just the folks in Town Center and RPS and other places that are highly trafficked by the more affluent segments of our community. And I know you guys always do that, but just putting it on the record. So yes, that, and sincerely suggesting that we make sure our friends, our neighbors on Maryland Avenue are aware of this program.
Any additional council discussion of this motion? Any public comments or questions? Okay, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Okay, we're the last of the legislative action items. Motion to authorize the waiver of residential permit fees until December 31st, 2024. May I have such a motion?
So
I
move.
move.
I will take Councilmember Callan as the second. Councilmember Smith made the motion. Councilmember Callan shortly thereafter. I'll accept his as the second.
Okay.
Is there just any council discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, just one
Coun-
quick question of staff, if I may.
Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
In the time that we have been waiving this fee, granted, I should have that information based on the status and information reports. But I haven't been keeping a tabulator on it. Could staff afford a to-date number of permit applications that have benefited from this waiver?
Director Shelton.
So if it faded out there a little bit, Councilmember, but it sounded like as though you were interested in the count and the number of the actual
Yeah.
permits.
I mean, yeah, you got it. And I dragged that as much as I could, so to give you time to look that up.
I appreciate that. I believe that is around 15 building permit applications, between
Okay.
15 and 20. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any additional council discussion of this motion? Any public comments or questions about this motion? Seeing only Councilmember Smith's microphone live, I think he's ready to pounce in with his yes. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua. Councilmember Lingua, you're muted.
Yeah, I was trying to adjust some volume and it was taking me to another page. My apologies.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Callan,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 6-0.
You.
Oh, Councilmember Mejia, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Oh. Wah, 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 wah.
I was watching the names rather than simply going through the seats in the council chambers in my head, which is what I usually do. So that will teach me a lesson.
It's okay.
Okay, that brings us to new business. Item number 1 of new business is to increase the agreement with our AccuBuild Construction Inc. to a revised not to exceed amount of $1.302876 million, an increase of $130,000 for the municipal center renovation. And I believe we are expecting a staff presentation on this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And Director Lewis is prepared to walk us through this.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As the mayor mentioned, this is a request to increase the not to exceed amount on the AccuBuild contract to renovate the municipal center buildings to $1,302,876. This is an increase of $130,000 above the amount that the council approved in April, which totaled $1,172,876. The approved amount included an 18% contingency to cover anticipated change orders for interior surface replacements, lighting, furnishing, and fixtures for new and renovated spaces. Across the building, certain other interior finishes were not included in this total. In addition, several unknown building conditions came to light during the excavation and construction, which changed the project scope and related cost. As mentioned in the staff report, while preparing for the work on the second floor expansion in the police department building, it was determined that the 2 wing walls, which were expected to support the addition, will not support the addition. And when excavating for the rear hall addition between the police department and town hall, footers were discovered below the finished grade, which also required additional work. Both situations changed the scope of work and cost. Our architect has done a very good job scrutinizing change order requests generally and has determined that these 2 change orders in particular are necessary and the costs are justified. The fiscal year 2024 budget is $1,337,519. Subtracting contractual service for the project architect, third-party inspection, and construction from this total leaves a balance of $130,000. The amount that staff is requesting to be added to the AccuBuild contract. And with that, I'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lewis. Are there council questions in advance of a motion needed before making a motion, or is someone ready to make a motion and then we can discuss?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Smith.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Lingua to increase the agreement with AccuBuild Construction to a revised not to exceed amount of $1,302,876, an increase of $130,000 for the municipal center renovation. CIP project 18GG01. Is there discussion of this motion? Council discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Inyang, go ahead.
I guess my first question is just, I think the amount, like, it's unfortunate that this sort of came up. How confident are we that there won't be another sort of thing around the corner? And does it make sense to not sort of approve a larger amount, knowing that we can try and get below it? Or is it more prudent to sort of ask as things arise? Three-parter right there.
So, since most of the excavation is completed, we don't expect those kinds of situations to pop up. There are other items that we've always intended to do, but we've delayed. Actually, it was not a part of the solicitation, and but need to be completed as a part of the full renovation, especially the council chamber finishes that we talked about a couple of months ago. So the balance based on all of the contractual commitments to date is $130,000. That's in fact it in that budget for all that's left to be done.
And I would add, thank you, Director Lewis, for that. Councilmember Inyang, if I'm understanding your question, it's whether or not we should have incremental increases instead of the 130. My advice to the council is to have this as a not to exceed amount. The architect will continue to scrutinize. The mayor and council, even if we call special meetings, I don't think we would be able to react fast enough to keep things moving along. So if they discover something that is a change order, we need authorization to be able to sign off on that to keep a project moving. Otherwise, it could result in the demobilization of subs, and the project's already running late.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you, not to get you up. It was more so the other question of like, how do we know 130,000 is enough, or should the number be higher?
Director Lewis, how confident are you in the 130 as the ceiling?
I would say about 80%. The council authorized initially about 178,000 in contingency. That plus the 130 should cover most of the remaining work. What we currently know in terms of some of the unexpected items and what we've already planned to do and have a preliminary estimate for. So I'm pretty confident. 80% I think is as much as I could, as confident as I could be with that. This is an existing building. I think we've covered a lot of ground in terms of what was intended and then what was discovered, and then what's remaining seems to be within that total.
Okay.
I'm not sure if 80% is enough, but actually, given what we faced so far, I think that's the best that I could do. And we could certainly continue to provide updates to the council along the way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional council discussion of this motion? Any public comments on this motion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
Councilmember Callan.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Next item under new business, motion to authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with Cypress Services LLC for an amount not to exceed $78,718 for building demolition and parking lot development, part of CIP project 20DS06. I would hope that we can have a motion and then have a presentation. Is that a possibility? Is someone willing to make a motion at this time?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Staff, can we please hear about this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So Director Lewis, are you presenting or is Mr. Newmont Hader presenting?
Newmont should be, but I don't see him any longer on the call.
I'm here.
Am I overlooking you?
yes.
Okay. It sounds like he's still here.
Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I've seen myself and I'm surprised I was not there. So anyways, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council member. I will be presenting and requesting mayor and council for the authorization for the town manager to sign an agreement with Cypress Service LLC. This contract agreement would be for the demolition of debris, a demolition project and debris removal and site grading at these two properties, 5002 Queensbury Road, with a budget not to exceed $78,718, which also includes contingency amount. Just to give an overview, town issued a bid on October 31st, 2023. We received 5 bids, with Cypress Services LLC offering the lowest and most responsive bid of $68,450. Along with the staff, with the on-call engineering company and staff, the staff have decided to go with Cypress Services LLC based on their experience. The project involves, as I mentioned, demolishing the structures, the 2 structures, removing specific trees, an oil tank, clearing debris, grading the site. The work will be done in compliance with the county standards, of course, and the project completion is expected to be within 45 days of the notice to proceed. The overall budget for this project, and this is phase 1, I would say, part of the preparing the parking lot, is $636,000, roughly about that amount. And we are asking in this meeting for the mayor and council to approve the town manager to sign the contract. So if there's any questions, I can take them.
Thank you, Mr. Hader. Are there council questions for Mr. Hader or council discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Foe, go ahead.
No questions, just a comment. Council has been working on this from the acquisition to this current date for years. I have heard a couple of residents and a former council member refer to this as being the most valuable land in all of Riverdale Park. And I wholeheartedly agree. When we're talking about the intersections of Taylor, Riverdale Road, and Queensbury, we can never underestimate the value of space and organization. This is an incredibly dense area, and us being able to actually assist in the creation of order is absolutely invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Any additional council discussion? Councilmember Smith, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo my colleague from Ward 2's comments and add that as we discuss this measure, we, if I remember correctly, there was a robust discussion around what we all acknowledge is a housing affordability crisis in our area. And one of the reasons we decided to convert this property to parking was that that would be the easiest use for it, that would allow it to be converted to something else later. I just would like to remind my colleagues on the council of that discussion and to staff to make sure that we're always looking for, as I know you are, opportunities to do something else with this property that would provide an immense benefit to our town. So parking is great. We know the school needs it. We know the municipal center needs it. But we also know the whole town needs housing and the whole region, really. So hope we continue to look towards opportunities to develop something a little bit more enriching than a parking facility. Like I said, that's given the use of that area and the car usage we have now, which I think we all agree is too much. It's prudent to develop it this way. But parking is about the most inefficient use of land possible in our town. It's either sitting empty or used to store something that isn't being used. So again, recognize the need that we have now, but let's continue to think about ideas for what we could do for a larger benefit here.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Any additional council discussion of this motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Callan, go ahead.
Yeah, demolition of these two houses, making a parking lot. Is there any benefit are we going to get from there?
Are you asking me for the?
Yeah, I'm asking this question, yes.
Okay,
Because
so in the municipal center project, which we were just discussing quite recently, the additional funding in order to finish it up, then some parking spaces in front of town were lost. And I can tell you from the past that during town council meetings at times that there was nowhere close to enough parking to accommodate the people who drove to town hall in order to meet with us. And I can tell you that every single morning, the teachers of Riverdale Elementary School are doing a 2.5 dimensional jigsaw puzzle to try to wedge their cars into the parking spaces over there as tightly as they possibly can. And this will provide relief to both of those issues. And as was stated both by Councilmember Foe and Councilmember Smith, this is a use for the land, and many other uses are possible in the future. And so we are going to be, it was decided by the council in the past that that was a good thing to do at this time, because we really don't have a lot of money in our budget to do other town funded events. And we did acquire the money with town funds, or excuse me, acquire the property with town funds. And so needed to do a town project. Does that answer
okay,
your
thank
question?
you. Yeah, thank you, quite understood.
Okay, please, glad to provide a little history. Are there any public, any additional council discussion? Are there any public comments on this motion? So I'm going to ask staff a question. It is vaguely related to the motion. I hope the council will allow me this. I'm essentially certain that Community Forklift will be coming in to do a last minute harvest of any useful materials. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So just before the bulldozers, and they will be taking the pieces that are still there holding up the building that are of interest to them. So that's great. And that means that probably some of those materials will help somebody moving their way towards a LEED Silver or LEED Gold award for their building project. So we're being sustainable, improving our sustainability in that way. Any additional council or public comments on this this motion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia.
Aye.
and Councilmember Kellogg.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 6-0. Last item of new business, exploring the creation of a walk, bike, drive advisory committee. If I may again, before going to the staff presentation, beg forgiveness from the council. There are two items that I neglected to mention in my mayor's report. One of them was that at a suggestion from someone, I'm sorry, I don't remember if it was council or a resident, I reached out to our Board of Education representative, Mr. Briggs, Jonathan Briggs, asking if a pedestrian safety assessment for the Riverdale Park Elementary School could be done. This is not generally done for existing schools, so it is done for new schools. And he has communicated that request and will be shepherding that request to the superintendent to see if we can get that done. The second item I neglected to mention is that I've received communications from Chief Aziz. He wants to have a telephone conversation with me, and we're just trying to find time when we both have an opening in our schedule to have that conversation. And with that, I'll pass on to staff about the Walk, Bike, Drive Advisory Committee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So as laid out in the memo, the mayor and I have had informal discussions. I've heard from council members about trying to expand the conversation as it relates to either bicycle safety or pedestrian safety. And so in working with the staff team, we figured we already have a walk, bike, drive safety initiative. And so if there's going to be an advisory committee, perhaps we just frame it around the current initiative that the mayor and council approved in January of 2019. As further explained in this memo, we've contacted, we online researched 30 municipalities. 12 have some sort of a committee, advisory committee. 18 did not, out of the 30 that we looked at. And it seems like it would be a good evolution or natural progression. And if you continue to scroll in the memo, you'll see that we are suggesting that, as with any group, that there be a clear stated purpose. Staff took or made an initial attempt as a starting point in this conversation to say that such a committee would advise the council and the town staff on the annual capital improvement project plan and on walk, bike, drive safety initiative programs and plans. It's pretty broad. And there's a lot that goes into that. If we look at the next section, and we've put some serious thought in this, to have advisory and support members. And the advisory members, a preference would be given for folks who are members of the community, either residents or owning a business in town. And as you can see, a member with experience or education in transportation planning or urban design, a member with education or experience in civil engineering, a member with education or experience in public accessibility, a member with education or experience in urban bicycling, one representative of the school community, if you will, either Riverdale Elementary School or College Park Academy, one resident member not requiring specific education or experience, and one TRP located business member not requiring specific education or experience. We also note in the memo, it's going to be real important that to the greatest extent practicable, that the advisory committee members reflect the diversity of the town. It's from a staff perspective, it's really important that low to mod income residents be represented, that their voice be heard, that from our Black community or Latino community or both, that their voices also be represented in this sort of advisory council or committee. And then the supporting members, one member of the town council, Director Lewis, Acting Chief Turner, and the town contracted engineer. And then as official supporting members. Obviously, whatever the council decides, myself and my whole staff would be working to support the work of such a committee. And if the mayor and council, well, actually, can you slide up a little bit more on the screen? We're also suggesting that there be an annual agenda and a meeting schedule that's presented to the mayor and council, and that the committee present an annual report as directed by the mayor, and that the agenda and meeting schedule be coordinated with staff, because a large part of this has to be coordinated with our budget process. We're well underway of moving forward on a number of projects that take multiple years. We're also moving forward right now on developing a few new projects for next year. So we do think that with any committee like this, it's important to have an evaluative process to ensure it's moving in the direction the mayor and council want to see, as well as to add value. And that's why we're suggesting that after 18 months, because of the timing issue, that it be looked at, and then annually thereafter. And then lastly, if the mayor and council decide to move in this direction, staff would be seeking direction from the mayor and council to measure through outreach, like we do for all of our committees and work groups, to actually solicit the community to see if these types of positions, if people with this type of experience would be interested in participating on such a committee. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to hand it off to you, not for questions necessarily of staff, but for discussion by and among the council. We're here as support, but I want to reiterate, we put this together as a starting point for the mayor and council.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager, and many thanks to the staff. I know that many hours went into this discussion and consideration and balancing and research. So I really appreciate that. Councilmember Smith, you have your hand up. Please let us know what you think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is fantastic. This is great. I know my colleagues on the council and I have been in sporadic discussions about just, you know, not an organized effort, just people we know personally in the community that have this expertise that to this point we have not leveraged to the full extent to benefit our town. So really thankful to see this. And it also strikes me, Mr. Town Manager, that we're doing a lot of praising your staff today. We're also doing a lot of requests for more work for them. And, you know, I see a lot of the same names coming up on these projects. And I know that we aren't, it's not within our jurisdiction on this council to increase the hours of their days. So I would just encourage you, Mr. Town Manager, as you and the staff prepare budget requests, to not be shy, as I know you will not, and being candid about the any need for expanding our staff to ensure we have a staff team that is fully capable of carrying out the visions of this town. And I say that with recognition of the revenue implications that come with that. So would love to see us be able to expand staff to do more of the great work that they're already doing.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Mr. Town Manager, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I just wanted to respond. Councilmember Smith, behalf of the staff team, we really appreciate that. I mentioned last week there may be a need, depending on a lot of decisions over the next 5 months. There may be a need to increase the tax rate. We would not propose such a thing unless the need would absolutely require it. But the staff team does have limits on how much we can do in a day and in a week and a year. And so we appreciate the support. And in the proposed budget, which is just getting underway, we will continue to be judicious and conservative in our revenue projections and in our ask, but trying to find balance with the vision that the council is putting forward in wanting to see more things accomplished and more things accomplished more quickly. So I thank you for that, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. And I would just add, as a note to my colleagues on the council that our property tax rate has been static for some time. I believe it was mentioned last meeting, a decade or more. And, specifically as it pertains to projects like the Walk, Bike, and Drive Safety Initiative. We don't often run across political will for increasing property taxes. And when it comes to a program like this and what our community has recently experienced, I would just ask that we consider how long it's been since the last time there was political will for that. And if we miss this opportunity, when the next time we might have that political appetite for revenue increases. And with that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Any additional council discussion of the overarching idea of the Walk, Bike, Drive Advisory Committee?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Foe, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on the words of Councilmember Smith. I think we are at a crossroads where we all understand the implications of what it is that we're saying and what it is that our community is trying to get over. Mr. Town Manager, this is fantastic. I can't believe that this goes from general ideas to this in the matter of time that you guys have while you're still accomplishing your day-to-day tasks. This is truly remarkable. And I was sitting next to a friend this weekend who has expressed an interest in participating in this. And I just told him, thank you so much for being such a tremendously good friend that you care enough to participate at this level in our local government. He is an engineer, he is experienced, he is engaged and involved. And I think we do have, not in abundance, but we have some really incredible residents of our town that commit to this dialogue and levels that are truly informative from my perspective. And I look forward to participating dialogues with them so we can create a safer Riverdale Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Councilmember Inyang, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I echo the feedback that's been shared in terms of the the value of not just, I mentioned in my earlier remarks, so I don't have to go rehash it completely again, but there's value here. I'm encouraged by sort of the structure of this is, and I think this can be, like I mentioned, something that we can hopefully look to utilize for other areas moving forward. I love the fact that there's sort of a clear agenda agreed upon up front. And I also love the fact that this is not just community members, but staff and council representation in there as well. Because I think the reality is the best ideas don't always happen. And there's a budget reality, political reality that always need to be factored into the math when we start talking about this, right? And so grounding it in a sense of reality of sort of what it's competing against in terms of like limited resources and time, I think is always important. And so I like the fact that this, I don't believe will be a theoretical academic exercise, but actual bringing expertise to sort of help inform ongoing town activities. I think is it's a great balance that I hope that we can sort of leverage in. I just have two quick questions. Actually, one question is mainly around the process for approvals or sort of who gets the voting on who gets selected. I believe that we'll get a pretty decent turnout in terms of like people reaching out. And so some folks may have like overarching skill sets, and so is the idea we'll sort of see what we get and craft the committee as a result, or is there more thought process put in terms of who gets slotted into, who gets picked, and then who gets slotted into which sort of role or category?
Mr. Town Manager, if I can dive in on that. I will speak from experience in staffing the Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee, which also has similar set of requirements. So skill sets are requested in architecture, urban design. There are categories of residents, business owners, town council representatives, et cetera. And there's always a little bit of a balancing act of determining who should be in there. But I think that it's been sketched out of what expertise we want, and also that we want to see the committee reflect the many diversities of the community in its membership. And I think with that we will be able to craft a committee that will work well, I believe. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I would add is when the town puts out an announcement that we're seeking members, we include that whatever type of background we would like to see. And then we ask people basically to send us a letter of interest or a resume. And Director Barnes, correct me if I'm misspeaking on any of this. And so when the staff receive that, we review those, but before we send them on to the mayor. And so from a structural organizational perspective, it's one thing if you have one vacancy, it's easier to fill. You're looking for something very specific. When you're starting a new group, and we have all these applications, hopefully double the number of positions, I think that the staff would likely make a recommendation to the mayor, but the appointment of these, I believe, would be the mayor's with the concurrence of the council. It's going to depend on how the group is created, but that's how I would understand it to be, that the mayor would propose membership and the council would offer their consent. Would that be correct, Mr. Mayor?
That would be what I would anticipate, given the duties that I have in the town charter. But of course, the council can structure this as they see fit.
And I would see this being created by a resolution.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion of this item?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure. Go ahead, Councilmember Lingua.
Thank you. It's the last council member of any type of committee like this with the Traffic Study Committee. I have a few suggestions on this. One of them being on your list of 7 proposed, you might want to expand that to 8. I would say it's not a matter of someone from Riverdale Elementary or College Park Academy. It is a member from each. As well as council members that would be serving on this. My suggestion would be either members from the Public Safety or the Public Project or Public Works Committee, the committees that we have set up. I would also recommend that in terms of staff in that group, while having the chief there would be appreciated, if there's another member of the staff, be it the second or one of the lieutenants, who would attend and then report back to the chief or to a command staff on that. I think that would be sufficient. Same with Public Works, if the assistant to the director were to attend, I think that would be sufficient as well. In terms of selection of members, I think this is a prime exercise for members of the Public Safety and the Public Works Committee to address, bringing back their recommendations to you and then you conferring with staff, or if it's, coming back with suggestions to both at the same time, and then bringing those recommendations to council for a full vote.
So you would have the process seems complicated to me, but we can certainly discuss it if we involve the committee members for
I
the
think it's a
membership.
great exercise for the committees to handle.
Okay, I agree that the council representative, our liaison, should probably be the chair of one of the committees that you mentioned. So
Sure.
that seems like a reasonable idea. Any additional, Mr. Kaushik, I see your hand up. I'm going to continue with council discussion, but we'll recognize you shortly. Is there, Mr. Town Manager, I will recognize you shortly also. Is there additional? I'll recognize you now. Mr. Town Manager, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Councilmember Lingua's input on the staff representation. From my perspective, this committee, like all of our committees, they have an important charge, or this, if you all create this, we'll have an important charge. And I think I need to communicate clearly, not only to the members, but to the community, that someone that reports directly to me, actually two folks that report directly to me, will be at each one of these meetings. And so I'm not looking for their designees. I think this charge rises to the level where that type of representation is needed. And so I would ask for the council's support, and if you have such a committee, having the staff representatives that I'm recommending to the council. I just think it's that important.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Is there additional staff or council discussion of this item at this time? Mr. Kaushik, I hope I'm pronouncing your name somewhere close to correct. Do you wish to speak still?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for letting me speak. And I do apologize. Your statement in calling for additional discussion was a bit ambiguous. I thought that maybe public were also invited to comment, and I raised my hand, but I didn't mean to jump the line.
Fine. It's fine. We are required to, and we like to hear from members of the public. We just do it after the council has had a first shot at it in general.
Yeah, right. So I'm just going back to the experience that I have in my current role as faculty with the National Study Center, doing research in traffic and highway safety, and especially pedestrians and bicyclists. And I have a couple of questions related to the draft that's being shared. Firstly, the question that I have is there's a position for one member with education and/or experience in public accessibility, and also there's a point for a member with education or experience in transportation planning and/or urban design. And in my mind, like, both of these are pretty similar and overlapping each other. So I just wanted to understand what the idea is behind separating public accessibility from transportation planning.
I can take a stab at it, Mr. Town Manager. Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor, and then I'd be happy to follow up if I have anything additional.
Okay, so in my experience working on projects over the years, and in particular in the Riverdale Park Station project, it was called KFRITS, so KFRITS project when we started, and so I sometimes refer to it as that. The safety of the streets and the public accessibility, so the creating access for people with all different forms of physical mobility concerns, were somewhat connected, but that the accessibility was an issue that that needed to be addressed by someone with specific expertise in it. And the transportation planning versus urban design, when I saw it, I actually added the urban design because I can tell you that a lot of the safety features that are in Riverdale Park Station were added by a person with tremendous experience in urban design, but not in transportation planning. And so the radius of every curb in Riverdale Park Station was carefully considered. I remember one late night meeting, most of them were, where our urban designer sat with the developer and said, this curb needs to be this radius and this curb needs to be this radius. And it was so he could create a path through the neighborhood that would allow the delivery of goods from moving vans, et cetera. But that in general, the curbs were there to slow things down. So that was why I wanted to add the urban design, and the accessibility, as I said, is about making sure that that is addressed early on, because I think, as you know, those with mobility issues do not do so well if traffic situation is not so good.
Correct. Yes. Yes, I basically, I mean, in the way that I have experience with this, I would not have differentiated between urban design, like you explained, and public accessibility, because urban design and form factors of the roadways, the intersections, the curbs where they meet each other, sort of like blend more into urban design than specifically, well, I mean, public accessibility is sort of like a subset of urban design is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, well, we could certainly move the urban design to be with public accessibility and have that be the and/or as opposed to transportation planning. That would be, that's an option.
Yes, I think that would be better, and I would put that as point number one. If, I mean, like, I don't know if any of these make a difference, but that should be the priority person that we get, especially because all members of council and yourself and the staff are very supportive of walking and biking as the modes of transport of choice for Riverdale Park.
We are. It's fortunate that we have such support for that in the town. It's really great.
Yes,
and it's something that I've worked for many years.
Yes, I really appreciate that. We had this brief discussion during the last meeting as well. The second point that I have is that the committee is expected to meet annually, which I think is too infrequent. Because the states, for example, Traffic Records Coordinating Committee that I chair meets 6 times a year. 4 of the meetings are general council meetings and 2 of the meetings are executive council meetings. So I'm not advocating that we need to meet as many times, but I think at least, 2 times a year or maybe 4 times a year would be better. Because transportation touches all aspects of everyone's lives. And if there are like projects that are continuously being evaluated, then, it would be beneficial to have the committee, this committee meet more often.
So my reading of that statement and my understanding from the discussions with the town manager are not that they would meet only once per year, but that they would establish a calendar early in the year and have a schedule of meeting, which is, I would guessing, would be at least every other month. But it might be that it was adjusted to miss, for instance, August, when it's sort of hard to get people to attend meetings and things like that. So no, I absolutely agree that there will be more than that. It's just that the agenda will be issued once a year so that everyone is aware of when they will be meeting, rather than having
I see.
an ad hoc agenda throughout the year.
I see. So that that was probably my misinterpretation of annual agenda and meeting. I thought that it was just one agenda and one meeting in the year.
Definitely not. As the discussions I've had and the discussion by the town manager are that we need this input at multiple times during the year. As part of the budget process, as part of the execution of the budget process, we definitely need the input at many different times. So I think we'll be having lots of meetings.
Yes, I also agree with the third point that I have, and this is the last one, is that I also agree with Council Member Lingua that this committee especially would need to have close working relations with the other committees that are involved in the other construction projects around the town. So I don't know if we will be up and running in the time that it would take. Well, if this committee would be up and running before the plans for the Lafayette Avenue and the Riverdale Park Town Center reconstructions are decided and agreed upon. But there should be a mechanism by which this committee gets roped into all of those discussions when it's formed, and this committee also gets roped into the well, at least a part of the budget discussions and all that, so that we make sure that we take a bite that we can actually chew.
Okay, well, I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are interested in this, and we will definitely invite the members of this committee to the various other committee meetings and events. And I'm hopeful that this committee might well be staffed sometime as early as February or March. Mr. Town Manager might think that's a little bit optimistic, but we can let him weigh in on that. And Mr. Town Manager, I see your hand is up. Also, did you want to answer some of Mr. Kaushik's points?
Yes, I had a few comments. One, I agree with you, Mayor. I think it's sometime before spring that the committee could likely be formed, but that would make it too late to provide substantive input on the fiscal 25 CIP. But there will be opportunities to provide insight as projects move forward, just not necessarily before the budget process. We have specific dates that we have to meet. I did want to make a comment on the accessibility person and urban planning, this, that, and the other. I agree with much of what you said, sir. I would say, though, that in my experience working on projects over the years, everybody wears a different hat at different times. And having someone who their background may be in transportation planning, but we're asking them to wear a hat of accessibility because you have conflicting opinions sometimes, right? And so a transportation planner may be more focused on one aspect of transportation planning in any given discussion. But I think that accessibility is such an important element to have a member where it's like your focus is to make sure you're representing that particular aspect of the project. I think that helps diversify the discussion. And then ultimately, in whatever advice that is then given to the mayor and council and the staff team to help us as we move forward with projects. So that was part of my reason for having the language that way in the memo. And I think that's it, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. I'll just add one comment, which is that any members who are interested in being on this committee can, of course, attend as individuals as we discuss the CIP projects moving forward, and can weigh in unofficially, not as part of the committee, but unofficially and individually on what projects they think should happen as part of our transparent budgeting process.
as is their right.
That's correct. Any additional council or public discussion of this item? If you can scroll down to the last page, I don't think that that actually showed up on screen. So staff recommend that if we are interested in further exploring this, staff conduct outreach and to determine if interest is there. And perhaps, Mr. Town Manager, you think this can happen by the work session on the 18th? Initially?
I'm going to defer to Director Barnes. Ms. Barnes, can you weigh in on that?
Certainly, it might be a little bit tight, but we certainly can get started.
Well, I'm not expecting that you're going to have recommendations for members at that time, but just if you have an idea of how many responses you've gotten, and particularly because of the holiday season, then people may not be paying as much attention to Town of Riverdale Park postings on Facebook or other social media sites. So, but I think having at least an initial round of feedback at that time would be good. So thank you. So is there general consensus among the council that you are interested in pursuing this further, and we can bring it up again at the work session?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So let's go ahead and plan to do that. Is there?
And I would just, Mr. I would just add if there's anything that whenever the posting is ready, please feel free to send it to council. We'll actively sort of get the word out within our networks and constituents as well. I think getting as many eyes as possible would be crucial in this.
I like that thinking.
And we certainly will do that, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Are there any before we move on, excuse me, are there any additional items of new business?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to ask staff to ascertain the feasibility of closing Riverdale Road between Oliver Street and Tanglewood Drive to through traffic between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. on days in which PG County schools are in session, and provide council with a report on that within a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, I think that answering that question may
From Riverdale Road from Oliver to Tanglewood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oliver runs parallel to Riverdale Road.
Yeah, I'm saying Oliver Road Riverdale Road, Oliver and Tanglewood.
Right, but Oliver is running parallel south of Riverdale Road.
So as I
It's not intersecting.
and please correct me if I'm looking at it wrong.
Are you thinking of Lafayette?
No, sir. You know what? At Riverdale Road, as I'm looking at the map now, that is the exact spot where Oliver Street becomes 49th Avenue. So let's say between 49th Avenue and Tanglewood Drive.
so 49th. So it's where Riverdale Road terminates, or where Oliver Street terminates. So 49th to
Tanglewood.
That's 48th Avenue.
I believe he may be following Oliver through the mansion grounds, Mr.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So which means essentially from Riverdale from 49th Avenue.
That was my understanding of the rephrased request.
From the intersection of 49th to Tanglewood. And I take it the only exclusion would be public transit.
Yeah, I would include or exclude transit from through traffic. I'm not sure what the official definition is there, but if that is
Metro bus.
Yeah, exactly. Metro. I'm not trying to stop public transportation from going through there. And in case anyone was interested, yeah, that is Google Maps marks that as Oliver Street going through the museum grounds up until it intersects Riverdale Road.
If only there were some way to provide feedback to them.
Yeah. Google has a lot of streets on there that don't exist. So
Well, I'm glad I have more senior members of the council here to set me straight. Thank you.
Mr. Town Manager, I see your hand up. I'm just going to say that this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, as I think you are almost certainly aware, Councilmember Smith. And my concern, speaking as someone who is not a traffic engineer of any sort, is that we would have to consider what the impact of that closure would be on traffic elsewhere. Because
Go ahead.
Just as we don't want our solutions to stormwater issues to create problems for our downstream neighbors, we don't want our solutions to these issues to impact other locations in potentially similarly terrible ways to what we have dealt with. And so that the consultation with a traffic engineer will probably be take some time. But I will let Mr. Town Manager weigh in on that topic and his thoughts on this request.
If I could just briefly, and I do want obviously to hear from the town manager because he's probably a step ahead of me on this. But the concerns you mentioned are exactly why I phrased this as studying the feasibility and not just raising the question, because we have access to a lot of great knowledgeable people on this stuff. I think it's a good idea, but I am also not a traffic engineer, so there may be second order effects that I'm not aware of. So that is why I phrased it as studying the feasibility. But again, staff in all likelihood are a step ahead of me on this, so I will defer to the town manager right now.
Okay, Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So a couple thoughts. And first, if the council would like to see a feasibility study of this, we certainly can engage one of the town's engineers to undertake this. And that would be from a traffic standpoint. Director Lewis, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking Pannoni would probably be the firm that would take on such an initiative or
And
such
in a short amount of time.
or such a study.
Right.
So we could farm this out to one of our on-call engineers and likely Pannoni. There's lots of other considerations outside of what an engineer is going to tell you. And so we would, on the staff side, we would undertake an evaluation of such a proposal to look at the cost impact. Unless we're going to install railroad style gate or railroad crossing style gates to close the road, then we're going to have staff out there closing the road. And so there's going to be operational considerations. But the one thing I would encourage the council to consider, this is not just public transportation, but you have folks that live along there. And so I think you have to consider about the individuals being able to get to and from their homes. I just highlight that there may be one or more folks that would oppose such a closing because it's limiting access to their property. And but if it's the consensus of the council, we'll engage Pannoni and move forward, and then we'll undertake a staff analysis on cost. Realistically, Mr. Mayor, with the holidays being what they are and December and the staff workload, I'm thinking you're probably talking, and Director Lewis, don't scream at me if I'm be upset if I say that we can get it done too quick. But I'm thinking end of January, early February, what would be the time frame?
Yeah, so Mr. Town Manager, I thank you for that input, and I did say a reasonable amount of time to not put dates certain on it. In my mind, that was at least 45 calendar days and the meeting following that. And if there's more time necessary to get it right rather than to get it fast, absolutely opening to that. And I think as I was sort of envisioning this proposal, I was thinking of it as a step more informal than actually engaging the on-call engineering firm. So I think the piece you mentioned about staff investigating the cost and that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that we are actively moving in a direction to consider things like this. And I know staff, as limited as your time is, have been working far more than the hours that are part of their workday on this stuff. So I don't mean to impugn the efforts of staff. But I do want to make sure we are taking action in the sense that we are at least investigating these possibilities. I think as I think about it again, maybe I am unclear on the definition of through traffic, but residents would not be impacted by that. If you're a resident coming to or from work or wherever you need to go, to or from your house, as I understand it, that is not through traffic. I'm purely directing that at folks using it as a cut through and other sort of issues, and acknowledging the complications of enforcement there, and maybe the actuality of this is it's just a sign similar to like what's outside the fire department of no traffic through here at this time, because it's not like the Dulles Toll Road where you can pull people over and asked to see their receipt for stopping from coffee at the gas station along there. But yeah, we have to, I think it is essential that we do something to relieve traffic congestion along that road, with crossing guards and speed limits and speed bumps and whatever else. Those things can only do so much. And we should do those things, but the safest thing as I see it, and again, not a traffic engineer, so maybe I'm wrong, but is we have to reduce vehicular traffic on that road during the hours that children are walking to school. If there's another way to do that, I'm all ears and happy if this is the way that there's consensus on the council to go towards studying this. Again, not asking us to make a decision on this, but happy to hear any other ideas and support those for decreasing that traffic, or anything else your staff comes across that could achieve the end goal of making pedestrian traffic near Riverdale Elementary during drop-off hours a more safe experience, and to give our community the confidence that their children can safely walk to school. So as I said, open to adjustments on this, or even further discussion if it's not something we want to take action to ask staff to do tonight. But yeah, the end goal of this, as I see it, is decreasing the amount of traffic during those hours on Riverdale Road. However we get there, I'm open to. And thank you for your input, Mr. Town Manager.
Mr. Town Manager, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So what I'm hearing, and I think we would conduct a slightly different type of analysis. If the goal is to reduce traffic, and particularly cut through traffic, we could also engage the engineering firm to take a look at that. I think they'll have to do some traffic counts and determine where vehicles are coming from. So, because I think you probably also want to take a look at the traffic coming in Taylor, the traffic cutting through Town Center, the traffic cutting through River Tech Court, over College Park Academy. And I would actually recommend to the council that an analysis of cut-through traffic, trips originating outside the town, but whose purpose is to just cut through the town to avoid traffic elsewhere, that there may be solutions to that other than closing a road. And I would ask that we have the engineering firm look at a variety of options to reduce cut-through traffic, primarily around the two schools in town, but also overall, if that makes sense.
I certainly defer to the town manager's expertise on this.
Okay. Please, Mr. Town Manager, please check into costs and whether we can do it under existing budgets or whether we need to make a special motion from the council.
Yes, and so on that, Mr. Mayor, with this type of a scope, we will get a price from Pannoni. Director Lewis, do you think you could get at least a ballpark price from them for the December 18th meeting?
Thanks for that question, because that was the point I was trying to make. They'll get back to me pretty quickly in terms of a proposal, but I can't say how soon they get to the work. So I'll reach out to them tomorrow to see how soon I can get a proposal.
Great. And then, Mr. Mayor, we'll report back to the council on the 18th with what a plan would look like to get a good handle on how large of a problem we have and recommendations to deal with cut-through traffic. So it'd be an assessment and then some recommendations to the council.
That sounds like a good path forward to me. And I appreciate Councilmember Smith's enthusiasm for moving forward on this as quickly as possible. I agree with that as well. That was an item of new business. Are there any other items of new business? Don't see any, so let's go ahead and move on to unfinished business. First item is the fiscal year 2024 revenue update.
Deputy Director Jones. And Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an item that was moved forward from the last meeting. And I believe Mr. Jones has updated the numbers to reflect that. Mr. Jones.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, John. So tonight's revenue comparison, as John mentioned, it is updated to reflect the numbers that were in tonight's earlier presentation. Again, like the previous revenue reports, we have the current fiscal year and then the 3 fiscal years that preceded with 5 major revenue categories, the first being local taxes. So for fiscal year 2024, we have a total of $5,883,000. This category includes the real estate taxes, which is makes up a majority of the revenue that the town receives, and the majority of this major revenue category. It includes personal taxes. We have a total of $345,083, local income taxes, which total $398,600, and then operating tax, a total of $211,160. So yeah, at this point, currently the total local taxes are at 76% of what the town had budgeted for fiscal year 2024. So we are exactly where we expect to be as far as this category is concerned. The majority of what we received has already come for all of the major categories except for 4012 local income taxes. The majority of that typically comes during the second half of the fiscal year. So we expect that number to be much higher by the end of the fiscal year. That's the one category that we have in the local taxes that's just at 20% of what was budgeted. But if you look in the previous fiscal years, the numbers are very similar. So it is expected there. The next major category that we have is licenses and permits. This includes multi-family rental, single-family rental, building permits, business licenses, parking permits, and alarm registrations and reductions. At this point in the fiscal year, we are at a total of 154,563. The one category that looks to be less than where we were at in the previous fiscal year is multifamily rental licenses. But that was expected as well. With roughly 7 months left of revenue to collect, we are actually at 97% of what we had budgeted there. So the expectation was that multifamily rental licenses were going to be lower than where we were in the previous fiscal year, where we had a total of 148,915. Overall, for licenses and permits, we are at 79% of revenue budgeted. So we are exactly where we expect to be for licenses and permits as well. Next category is administrative fees, which includes abatement charges and municipal infractions. The total here is just 1,850, but this was also expected. Last year was a bit of an outlier year. We had a lot of infractions. So we have a total of 27,380 at this point in the previous fiscal year. The next category is fines and forfeitures. We have a total of 18,870. Last year we were at roughly 21,865. The year before that, 16,575. And fiscal year 2021, that number was 19,021. So for the current fiscal year, we're doing better than we did in 2022, and a little bit from fiscal year 2023, but we're comfortable with where we are for fines and forfeitures. And the last category is community safety programs, which includes speed cameras, line 4401, safe speed for students. The total there is 329,924. We have a total of 333,674. And if you notice, we do have a bit of a drop off from fiscal year 2023 as well as fiscal year 2022. Again, when we are putting together the budget, we keep in mind that we don't like to rely on any speed camera revenue. Speed camera revenue only reflects the months of July, August, and September, as the revenue is delayed by 2 months, and it's been that way for all of the previous fiscal years. But there was a significant drop in speed camera revenue in September. So in August, we had a total of 135,000, and then for September, that amount dropped down to 86,000. So it is a good thing that, the speed camera is reducing speeding, therefore less tickets, but it's a number that we are continuing to look at because speed camera revenue is down from the previous 2 fiscal years. At this point, we have collected 30% of what was budgeted, with 9 months left of speed camera revenue. But again, this is one category that we are paying close attention to, and will continue to do so. So the total that we have for fiscal year 2024 is 6,392,000. At this time in the previous fiscal year, we had a total of 6,149,000. Fiscal year 2022, we had a total of 6,293,000, and fiscal year 2021, a total of 5,960,000. So again, yeah, we are continuing to monitor these numbers, especially as we approach the budget for fiscal year 2025. Staff have already begun the process of budget preparation for fiscal year 2025. And yeah, we continue to monitor these numbers as we put together that budget. So yeah, if there are any questions regarding the revenue analysis report, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director Jones. Are there questions for the Deputy Director on this report? Councilmember Inyang, I see you are unmuted.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation and anticipating the questions that are going to come up when you see large discrepancies between this fiscal year and previous ones. I have a question around the speed camera revenue primarily. You mentioned it's 30% of budget. It is substantially down from previous years, which is a good thing. You mentioned September being especially down. And so my first question is, we feel confident that it's down because it's it's actually impacting driver behavior and not just the machines were broke for 2 months. And then my second question is, how are we accounting for the revenue that we get? Is it just a general fund, or is it earmarked for a particular program that if revenues are substantially lower, then it would have that corollary effect to not being able to support a particular program?
Director Jones, can I respond to part of the question?
Yeah, sure.
And I may get Acting Chief Turner in this as well. In reference to folks slowing down, and Acting Chief Turner, please supplement this. We know that drivers on River Tech Court are slowing down. The number of citations issued on River Tech Court since the road diet, if you will, the narrowing of the road with the dedicated bike lanes, I believe the number of citations at that particular site have fallen about 50%. Mr. Turner, or Chief Turner, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, sir. That's correct. About 50%.
So we do know things are slowing down. Chief, are you aware of any mechanical issues or anything at any of our other camera sites?
No, sir. They're all operating properly.
And so the other thing I would note is that during the pandemic, we saw a surge in the citations issued. Lots of folks were speeding everywhere. So I think it's too early to say whether or not this is a one-off. People just started slowing down during this time. I think we have to look out over the next 3 months or so to see if there's going to stick. But this may be more normalizing back to where we were pre-pandemic. And because over the years we have budgeted, and Mr. Jones, help me out here, and these are gross numbers, these revenue numbers. So you have the cost of the program that comes out of this, but our gross numbers were typically in the 700,000s is what we would budget for. And then consistently we were hitting about 1.4. And this year we went up and we said, well, we're consistently hitting 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, I think we hit last year. So we went ahead and we budgeted at 1 million for this year, I think. And so even with the 1 million budget, I don't think that even with the improved driving, let's say it's all improved driving and that's sustained, we'll still hit a gross number of 1 million. So I don't think there's any programs or anything that would be cut because of it. Now, if the number drops below that, then yes, we will have to adjust, or we'll look at vacancy savings to help offset things because we are down some positions. But in terms of if it's restricted use revenue, it is. So all the revenue goes towards funding the police operations. And so it has to be used for public safety. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, did I miss anything on the finance side?
No, just to add to what you said there, we've actually come close to reaching the threshold where we might actually have to pay money back because the speed camera revenue was so high. To your point, I don't think that we're in a position where we have anything to worry about because we are conservative with how we budget speed camera revenue.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there additional council questions or comments on this revenue report?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
I just like to ask Deputy Director Jones to clarify that last comment on the circumstances in which we would have to pay money back to the vendor.
Right. So if we hit a certain threshold,
Mr. Jones, if I can interrupt, it's not to the vendor, sir. It's to the state of Maryland.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yes. And Mr. Jones, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you want to clarify why we may have to pay money to the state.
right. So the state has a certain threshold where if we hit a certain revenue amount in relation to the total revenue that the town receives, then we would have to pay that money back to the state.
Sure. Yeah, I'm familiar with that provision where only so much of our revenue can come from that. That's right? Okay, cool. Understood. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Any additional council questions or comments on this presentation? Are there any public comments or questions on this presentation? Okay, let's move on to the next item under unfinished business, review of revised vision and commitment statements, business and economic development, and infrastructure.
Director Barnes.
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor Thompson and members of the council. This item was carried over from the work session agenda. Over the last several meetings, the mayor and council have reviewed the vision and commitment statements for business and economic development, as well as for infrastructure. Staff have solicited input from the community as well as overall community stakeholders. And we have incorporated all of that feedback, including that from those comments from the mayor and council at the last meeting, into 2 revised vision and commitment statements. Staff are seeking direction from the mayor and council tonight as to whether these vision and commitment statements are ready for adoption at the December 18th special legislative meeting.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Council members? Any comments on the drafts as presented? And just for simplicity, let's stick with business and economic development and infrastructure for the moment, and we can move on to arts and recreation and community engagement and transparency after that. Council is looking awfully quiet.
Yeah, I would just say that, I appreciate that a lot of the feedback has been incorporated. And so I think town staff is, anticipating questions that may come up, at least for me, that I would, brought up ahead of time. So I definitely appreciate the turn on these, because I know it's not easy to get every word scrutinized. So I appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
Any additional council comment or questions? Any public comments or questions? So with all this silence, I'm actually quite happy with the business and economic development vision, but if you could scroll down on infrastructure. Is infrastructure the next one?
Mm-hmm.
So the second whereas, the laundry list of infrastructure included items. The specificity of drinking water. It's my memory that the drinking water and the fire hydrant water is the same. Is that correct? Does anybody know?
I'm not certain. I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I would say this, Mr. Mayor, in my experience, it would be. The only difference is they're tapping a 3-inch line off the main instead of a 3/4 inch line.
Yeah, so, okay, I just wanted to be sure that we were including firefighting water in there, and that was my memory, but just a question. And the other thing I would say is where it says and internet systems, that I would actually say data transmission systems. Replace internet with that, because there are many forms of data transmission other that are not. Most of them use internet protocol, but not all of them. And so I think just expanding that to include that, because I think, well, for instance, I mean, well, cable is pretty much internet now, but anyway, let's just be broad and let that be slightly expansive. And I believe that, yeah, those are the only two issues that I saw in that one. So unless somebody else has come up with anything, then we can move on to unfinished business item 3.
This is all very good. Thank you.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, the fact that I found anything to point out in this was surprising to me, but it's I just thought, you know, just a few little subtleties there, and wanted to dig into them.
And Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Is it the consensus of the council then to prepare these for subject to those small changes for adoption on the 18th, if we have a special legislative meeting?
Council?
Fine by me.
Fine by me.
Good.
Okay, so let's move on to item 3, arts and recreation and community engagement and transparency. And again, on the arts and recreation, I have a few very minor things, and I have to find my window where I marked up the document. And I have so many of them. So the community engagement and transparency I found to be perfect as is. I have no issues there. I guess I should let other members of the council go first. So other members of the council, go ahead. Any comments, any edits, any suggestions on these?
Mr. Mayor? Oh, please, go ahead, sir.
Councilmember
Just a quick,
Ingang, go ahead.
thank you, I appreciate it. Quick question, just in terms around for the art, is there no Riverdale Park? I thought there was like a Riverdale Park art group
Arts Council.
initiative, Arts Council. I don't believe I saw it specified unless it's further down, but I was just curious if like that was included or not, or and should it be if not?
So it's not currently included, but it certainly could be. I believe since the last time we reviewed this specific resolution, that group may have even changed names. So it might be a good place to include it.
Okay. Yeah, I think if they, obviously if it makes sense to include it, whatever it's called, but my understanding, if it's a unofficial, official sort of like art group, I'm not sure the relationship with the town formally, but it seemed like it was missing, but I didn't know if that was intentional or just didn't exist the last time we made this, but would appreciate you taking a look at that and seeing if it's appropriate to include.
Certainly.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilmember Smith.
I concur with my colleagues' position on ensuring that we're recognizing in the statement organized groups to support arts and recreation or whatever the topic may be. But I'm wondering if the fact that it wasn't named here, like if Ms. Barnes mentioned that this group has changed names, so if we put it by name in here and it changes names again, it might be might make our vision and commitment statement obsolete. So I'm wondering if that should be a reference just to citizens organize or residents organizing to support such initiatives.
Certainly.
I think that that's a reasonable direction we could go. I think staff will take this feedback and present something to us on the 18th. Okay. Any additional council comments on this vision and commitment statement?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Lingua, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. When I was reading over this, the part that I'm wondering about when what was it? I think it was the fourth whereas down, we start talking about parks and recreation. About maintaining a quality of life in Riverdale Park. The vast majority of the parks, if not, well, the vast majority of the parks in town are under the auspices of Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, and of which we have no authority over those parks and how they're handled and how they're managed and how they're controlled. So I'm finding that whereas probably, well, it's something we have no control over. I mean, if, you know, however the parks are managed or how they're set up and how they're run. Now, granted, we have the one park, we have a permitting priority at the park, yet it seems Park and Planning has no idea of what is exactly going on at that park, and we're rendered essentially helpless in terms of trying to have any say as to recreation there at that park. Granted, they have been nice to us in the past and reserved it for us, you know, when we had events down there. I think the last time we had an event down there was pre-pandemic. So how that's gonna, you know, how they're gonna approach that now is anybody's guess. So I'm wondering, do we need to be adding language about town, you know, fully engaging as best as we are able with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning's Department of Parks and Recreation to ensure that towns' desires and needs for the use of the park, the use of parks within the town's municipal boundaries are readily available to town residents. I'm more throwing it out there than anything, but I'm just trying to find a way that we can have a little more oomph in that whereas about parks and recreation.
I would say that most of that oomph is in the whereas that's sort of halfway on screen right now, that we are committed to these various items that further establish and nurture arts and recreation, that we could add something there to say in the town of Riverdale Park and nearby or something like that. And that would add the oomph. Because a major purpose that these vision and commitment statements are used is for staff to decide what they present to us, the council, for various decisions. And so, as you are well aware, Councilmember Lingua, we have an annual letter that we send requesting resources from MNC PPC that be applied to various locations inside of town. And so I think that this vision and commitment statement is used by the staff as they draft a letter, such a letter. And if you're responding to me, you're muted,
Yeah,
Councilman.
I just no, I was just thinking about what you're saying, and was, while you're saying, I was, looking at the language yet again. Yeah, I just see it differently. I just don't see, it's, we're saying, yes, it's vitally important, for maintaining, establishing a quality of life, ensuring the health of the citizens. Great general statement, but it's, we're talking about, the parks and programs are, come out of MNC PPC.
Sure, I was going to suggest that Prince George's County be enhanced to include MNC PPC.
Yeah, I think so. I think mainly it's also just making clear that part of that is, a constructive engagement with MNC PPC to ensure that programs are readily available to residents in town, and that use of the parks within the town, the town, that citizens are this is where I'm not just really sure on what the language would be in terms of availability, in terms of, I'm thinking about, I guess what I'm thinking.
Can I make a
I'm thinking back
suggestion?
on, yeah, well, I'm thinking back on that permitting priority agreement that previous council, gosh, who was it? Ray Batters had worked out, and had gotten established back in, I think it was in 03 or 04, which my understanding is still in effect. So, it's just, I'm just trying to think of something that just gives us more and just gives more direction to staff about it.
I have a suggestion if
Please go ahead.
So again, in the final whereas,
Yeah.
I would suggest saying the mayor and council, I'm shooting from the hip here, so
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see if it's
mayor and
sticks.
council are committed to operations, programs, initiatives, legislation, and resources that further establish and nurture art and recreation and ensure that Riverdale Park residents have ready access to same.
Yes, okay, sounds fine.
So take that as a beginning statement, Director Barnes, Mr. Town Manager, and try to make it sound a little bit better if you can. So, okay, does that address your comment?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for the most part it does. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's just.
Well, no, I mean, it's what you're saying is, we would like to have a little bit more of a say in what goes on in those facilities. And so I think, ensuring that residents have access to those programs is great. So
I think the concept I'm thinking of is being proactive stakeholder.
Okay.
Because we are, because in the immediate area that these parks are within our municipality, that we strive to be a proactive stakeholder with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning's Department of Parks and Recreation in terms of park usage and activities available on these premises. Something along those lines.
Okay. Director Barnes is nodding, so I think she understands the points that you would like to see in this.
She knows where I'm coming from. So.
Yep.
Great.
I
Okay.
think these are excellent additions, council member.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Any additional council input on this one? The arts and recreation. Let me get back to where I can see the screen. Any public input on arts and recreation? I have a few little things to touch on. In the section where it says Prince George's County provides, et cetera, I would suggest recreation opportunities designed for all ages, abilities, and interests in order to ensure that we are focusing on the disabled community as well as the fully abled community.
Sounds good.
And the final question, and it just sort of struck me, is that it says arts and recreation everywhere except at the end of that final whereas, where it just says art and recreation. And should that be arts? Okay, that's a question, not a statement. So please review that. So I think that we might want to split this for the 18th and have one more go at the arts and recreation, one more look at it. But that we could vote on community engagement and transparency should there be the special legislative. Does the council agree with that?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll take overall quiet as being agreeing with that. So if we can manage to do that, Director Barnes and Mr. Town Manager, that would be ideal.
Certainly, thank you.
Okay. Before we move on, any final public comments or council comments on this item? Okay. The last item, I am a little bit late on providing the information. I finished it late last night. I have established a schedule. It's a sort of 3-page document for town manager review. And as in past years, we will have an evaluation form that will be provided to the council at the work session on the 18th. Can receive input on the questions, and I have marked a few of them that people had concerns about during last year's evaluation for consideration of whether they should be included or not, and provide input on the evaluation form, various options for how people get a copy of the form, which will be distributed at the January legislative meeting just for people to consider. And then many things that are similar to past years about the performances, goals and performance from the town manager, from council members for things for the town manager to have in his performance plan for the year ahead. And then on or after January 19th, which is the last day of the evaluation period, council members shall return the completed forms to myself and various items about exactly that, and how it will be dealt if people do not submit a form. And then schedule for compiling the data, generating a report, and delivering the report and making various decisions about the town manager's performance. All these are in that sort of 3-page long document. And the document will be distributed before the work session. And again, if we have a special legislative, I would hope that council members can agree to the schedule and provide any feedback if you think anything is wrong with it. And I will send out the draft that I have by email at the end of this meeting. And if anyone would like a printed copy, I can try to arrange for a printed copy to be delivered to your home address. And I apologize for being a little bit behind schedule, but I did want to get it right. And it's been a busy last couple of weeks. So that is that item. Any council feedback, concerns, questions for me?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for the time you put into this, given, like you said, how busy you've been the past couple of weeks. We know you've been under a lot of weight, and just want to express gratitude for everything, for this and for everything you do for our town.
I appreciate that, council member. This is, part of my job to organize this, and so I do it. But finding time to think through the best way to do it when I'm struggling to find enough time to sleep was difficult. But I did scrape together an hour or so last night and updated the previous year's document. So as I said, I'll send it out by email tonight, and if anyone wishes a paper copy, I can arrange to get that to you. And this is just the schedule. The draft questions will be distributed at the work session for hopeful adoption of a final set of questions or agreement to the final set of questions at the January legislative meeting. Any other discussion by council of this item or members of the public? Okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'll be happy to send me the draft resolution in my mailbox.
Okay. At your home mailbox or the mailbox in town hall?
My home mailbox.
Okay. I will arrange to have it delivered there.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the end of the unfinished business on the agenda. Are there other items of unfinished business? I have a very brief report on something that should have been on the agenda, but I missed it, which is the Riverdale Park Community and Municipal Center Project, 6601 Baltimore Avenue, also known as the Army Reserve. I reached out to Jim Rosapep, who is state senator, but also on the board, to ask if College Park Academy had additional thoughts on the building. And he and I have a meeting scheduled to discuss this tomorrow afternoon. So I did make that contact and have set up the meeting and making progress. And that's my only item to report on that. Mr. Town Manager.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add, I received an email after hours today from a consultant who works for CPA advising that they are not moving forward with any interest in reference to that property.
Oh, well, that's good news. I'll still have the meeting tomorrow afternoon just to establish contact with Senator Rosapep. He wanted to catch up on a few other things. So
very good. I'll forward that email to the mayor and council.
Thank you so much. That frees things up by quite a bit. So that's good. Okay. Any additional items of unfinished business? Are we ready to call it a night?
Yes, I'm on my leg.
You want?
Sometime in August, I asked for the council members and the mayor and our beneficiary in this council. But you told me, Mr. Major told me that let me wait for December meeting to put the word forward. So that's why today I'm bringing it up again.
What is the topic again?
What benefits can we have, like retirement or whatever, or not the increment? Increase is on February. I know that.
So but I do not have the minutes in front of me, but Mr. Town Manager, if you can help me remember this, I believe that the schedule for that is the February work session.
No, the February is the increase of salary.
No, we cannot increase our own salary,
No,
Councilmember Kellen. We
no, but-
cannot. It is not legal for us to increase our
but
compensation.
you said that's going to be happening in February.
No, sir. I said that we were expecting a report from the staff about compensation levels at nearby communities. Is that correct, Mr. Town Manager? Is that your memory also?
Well, yes, it's not just my memory, sir. It's what we have written down, reflecting what staff are putting together for the February meeting.
And is that the February legislative or the February work session?
It's the work session, sir. It'll be a-
Okay, that was my memory, Mr. Kellon, and we can go consult the minutes from that meeting if you would like us to, but the decision was made to have that input at the February work session by the council as a whole. Staff requested that delay, and the council agreed to it.
Me and the minutes we approved, right? We
Mhm.
can look at those.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, let's wait for February. So let us know what benefits are we going to have when we retire from this council.
Well, I think we would have to consult with the town attorney, but I would have to look carefully at the language of the charter that I don't think we can grant ourselves benefits.
No, we are not going to grant ourselves for benefits. There must be some people who are responsible for that.
So
We just going to have passed the word to them.
well, it would be any benefits, any changes in salary, anything I believe would be for the future councils. So whoever was elected in the spring of 2025 would start to see those changes.
Okay, well,
That's my, I mean, I have not gone, because I thought we weren't discussing this until February. I have not gone to look at that and to have discussions with the town attorney about what we are and aren't allowed to do. But it's my guess that that's the case.
okay.
Can I take
Mr.
the reading of the charter? and-
Mr. Town Manager, you are not saying anything.
But Mr. Town Manager said that he has it on the staff agenda to bring that information to us in late February.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay.
Uh,
Mr. Councilmember Lingua, were you speaking? Did you have something else to say?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Are there other items of unfinished business? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Councilmember Foe, second by Councilmember Callan to adjourn, neither debated nor discussed by our rules of order. I'll do an immediate roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Inyang,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia sent me a message that she had to leave to attend to a family matter. Councilmember Callan.
aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 10:32 p.m. Thank you all very much. Thank you to members of the public in attendance. It was a very useful and informative meeting. Thank you.
Thank you to you all. Good night.